Welcome back to Golfing Greats in Their Own Words as we continue our conversation with 2008 Masters champion Trevor Immelman at the Mines Resort in Kuala Lumpur. After a successful few years in Europe, Immelman put his focus on America after his 2005 President's Cup appearance for the international team earned him a 2-year exemption on the PGA Tour, which he certainly made the most of. By the middle of the decade, you were playing regularly on the PGA Tour after appearing in the 2005 President's Cup. How sweet was it to be named Rookie of the Year in 2006 on the PGA Tour?
Yeah, I mean, '05 was a big year for me because, like you say, I had the ability to go and play, being top 50 in the world, play in America, and I'd made enough money to get my tour card, and then, got into the President's Cup team. So that was really my first shot at sort of being, playing in a big global event like that. And then '06, yeah, was my rookie year on the PGA Tour, and I managed to get a win and have a real solid year. And, that was kind of sort of when I established myself as, a worldwide golfer. And so that '05 and '06 were two big years for me.
In 2006, you finished in the top 10 on the money list and you broke into the top 15 of the world rankings. What was it like finally breaking through to win your first PGA Tour title in 2006?
I mean, that's what I'd always dreamt of, was being able to go over to the US and play. And, even when I was a kid going over to play amateur events and junior events, I was always like telling myself, well, this is where you want to be. This is, these are the guys you want to play against and the tournaments you want to play. And so for me to get that first victory in the States was, tremendous achievement for me from the standpoint of it was like a dream come true, something I'd always wanted. And I'd had a few seconds leading up to that, so it made it even sweeter to be able to establish myself on the PGA Tour like that.
In 2007, your stellar form continued. You won $1.8 million in prize money. You made the President's Cup team again. But in December of that year, there was a major health scare.
Yeah, it was really crazy. I mean, to this day, we don't really know what happened. I won the Nedbank Challenge in early December. And I was scheduled to play the South African Open the next week. And so it was being played down in Cape Town, so we flew back home, spent a few days with the family, and all of a sudden, early on in that week, I just struggled breathing. And, the only way I was able to really get any air in was to curl up into a ball. And so went to the doctor and started doing all sorts of scans and MRIs. And we eventually found, this tumor. And at the time, when we looked at the scans, it appeared like it was on one of my ribs. And so the doc, these surgeons, it's no big deal for them they were just like, oh, we'll go in there and we'll cut a piece of the rib out and we'll put a steel plate over it and the rib will grow back. And I was like, man, I mean, is there anything else that we could do? And eventually, once they went in, I guess the way the scan was taken, because I was lying down, the tumor was being pressed up against the rib, but it was actually attached to my diaphragm. And so, that put me out for a few months. Obviously, it was a few scary days waiting for the results to see, what it in fact was. Those few days went by like seconds for me, but for my family, it must have been absolutely brutal. But fortunately, once we got the right result, I was able to, we had to delay our trip back to the States, and, I had to pull out of a bunch of tournaments, and I only started up really in March on the PGA Tour again. But, at that point, I could start setting myself goals of, rehabbing and be able to get back out there and hit chips and putts and start hitting full shots again before getting going.
After missing the first 8 weeks of the 2008 season, what kind of frame of mind were you in when you arrived at Augusta National for the 2008 Masters?
It was a little unfortunate because, like I'd said, the previous tournament I'd played, I'd won the Nedbank Challenge against one of the strongest fields that they'd ever had for that tournament. And so, you would think that would have given you tremendous confidence. But after the surgery and waiting, 9-10 weeks before I could hit a ball again, all that confidence had kind of disappeared. And so all of a sudden, I had to feel like I had to try and build my game back and get ready to go out there. And I remember starting up in '08, it was just, everything was so different. And it took me a few weeks to actually get back into the swing of things.
No doubt you've looked back 100 times on that magical week in 2008 when you won the Masters. But what do you think really clicked for you?
Well, it was a surreal week, really. I mean, because of the slow start to the year, you know, I think I just took so much pressure off of myself. I didn't really have any great expectations. I was starting to feel better about my game leading into the week. But I was just going there to really, and my goal was just, look, you're playing well, go and have some fun and let's see what happens. And the preparation went well, practice rounds went well, and I just got off to a great start on Thursday morning on the first 9, shot a couple under on the first 9, and things just kept going. And I had the lead right from the start, and I felt comfortable, and I just kept going. And you know, by the time Sunday rolled around, I knew that I had a shot, you know, to win the biggest tournament on earth.
Your final round at the 2008 Masters was a 3-over par 75, and it included a double bogey at 16. How difficult was it to keep it all together?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's hard. You got to stay tremendously focused, and especially that day, it was really windy, blustery conditions. Only 3 guys broke par all day long. And that's how tough the course was playing, and you really had to have your wits about you. So it was a tremendously challenging day from that aspect. But the whole week, I seemed to have a tremendous focus, and I was able to pull it through.
What was the reaction back in South Africa when you returned home as the Masters champion? And how did you cope with all that success?
Yeah, it was hard. I mean, life changed, there's no doubt about it. You know, a lot of things to do, a lot of people to meet, and some tremendous opportunities. And, you know, I was fortunate enough to take advantage of a lot of them. You know, we had a great time. And, you know, one thing South Africans love is they love a winner. And so it was fantastic to go home and spend some time with people that I'd known for a long time, and people that helped me along the way. And it was great to go back and you know, spend that special moment with them.
You were the first South African to win the Masters since your hero and mentor, Gary Player, back in 1978. How did you interact with him before, during, and after?
Well, you know, as you said, at the time, I was only the second South African to win, which is quite incredible when you think of some of the fantastic players we've had. Obviously, Charles has won since, which is tremendously exciting to have another South African in the champions locker room. But you know, Gary has just been such a tremendous role model for me, and he's been a tremendous supporter of mine. And we actually played a practice round together on the Tuesday. He was calling me all week, and obviously spoke to me again on the Sunday. And he was just tremendously proud of me, and the way I played and the way I conducted myself. And for me, you know, that was great to kind of have his blessing from that standpoint. And so it's definitely, you know, like I touched on earlier, it's you know, some memories that I'll cherish for the rest of my life.
Immelman's victory at the 2008 Masters came exactly 30 years after Gary Player won his 9th and final major title. And it seemed to trigger a spate of other South Africans winning majors, namely Louis Oosthuizen, Charles Schwartzel and Ernie Els. Up next on Golfing Greats, in their own words, after success comes a slump as Immelman struggles with injury and indifferent form.